Osiri. So I have a lot of questions for you. You open up that particular introduction, and that introduction gave birth to a lot of questions. I'm going to be taking you on these questions going forward. And if you have questions based on that introduction as well, please put it on the chat box. We're going to pick it up and attend to it. Reverend, thank you for that introduction. And you mentioned the issue of church, which is the center focus for tonight's discussion. Um, do you think the church is doing enough in our present time? What is your take on this?
Okay, so thank you so much for that question. You have put me in a place that sometimes I like to be, sometimes I don't like to be, which is straight jacket, but I'll try because part of what straight jacket does is that somebody can take something without getting it cooked properly and run away with it. I rather prefer I answer three questions rightly than try to rush that in. Okay, so the first thing I want you to capture is Ephesians chapter 1. I quoted that earlier. I'm going to read it before I answer that question. He says, all these energy issues from Christ. God raises from him death and set him on the throne in deep heaven, in charge of running the universe. I want to see that. Ephesians chapter 1, verse 22. Then I'm going to verse 23. So Jesus was set here to run the universe. Everything from galaxy to governments. No name, no power exempt from his rule. No sector exempt from his rule. And not just for the time being, but forever. How? Because we are an extension to continue what he started. He said he is in charge of it all, has the final word over it. He said, at the center of this, Christ rules the church. The church, you see, is not peripheral to the world is peripheral to the church. The church is Christ's body in which he speaks and acts, by which he fills everything with his presence. So, what this is trying to let you know that Christ certainly is going to have impact in every area. If you ask me, is the church doing enough? It's a relative question, all right? And the answer too will sound that way. But more importantly, I will say that the church is doing a lot when it has to had to do with reach, which means we are reaching a lot of people. But I think that the church has a little bit more to do with depth. We have a lot of reach. So if you see a lot of people, like I'm a Christian, I go to this church. But now you ask for their depth, and you see that the shallowness can be crazy. So now you can have fans of pastors, but they're not disciples of Jesus Christ. I'll say that again. They can be fans of the pastor, but they're not disciples of Jesus. So if you ask me, that's where I want to take that. That the church, people know us, people know church, people every. It's even challenging to do one-on-one evangelism these days if you have tried it. The moment you open and say, Pastor, I know, I go to this, I'm an usher here. But you could see that this usher is not ushering. You are wondering, is he ushering people to heaven or ushering people out of heaven? And so that is part of the things that we need to do. And so we do a lot on evangelism, and some of evangelism are even like what they call attractive evangelism. So you set up a big event and invite the biggest singer, the person that has the biggest name, the vibrator preacher. And so they gather people. And then, but the depth of discipleship is where the work is. And that's the job Jesus has called us to do. And I think the church needs to do more about discipleship. Because without discipleship, Christianity is fighting extinction. And that's a very big problem. Thank you. I hope I'm being short enough.
Yeah, thank you. And that's another follow-up question. We appreciate that. All of these questions are drawn from that introductory session you gave us. And maybe I should expound the first question a bit with the issue of affluence uh, going on today among leadership of the church.
Mm.
I want to ask, how can we maintain ethical integrity in church leadership?
Okay, so we are talking about church leadership.
I miss all of the growing financial and political influence we have around us. How do we create a balance um, without causing some form of confusion in the hearts of men, most especially the young ones, who obviously should be trained to understand what the church stands for. I don't know if
All
you
right, so
understand
thank.
that. Okay, okay,
I
thank
know
you.
you are trying. There's somewhere you are going to. You are trying to be careful, but it's okay. Let's go there.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, so I think that we should not even be afraid of the church getting money. The body of Christ need more money today than ever before.
Yeah.
Do you know how much money Coca-Cola pumps into adverts? All right, how much they pump into adverts, and that's why they sell over 1.8 billion Cokes every day. There are some places that they know Coke and they don't know Christ. It's painful. It's painful. So the church, I don't even think the church has enough money as we're supposed to have. We need more. The challenge is the leadership, like you are saying, being disciplined enough, being accountable enough to be able to channel these resources to do the job. You know, Bible says something very profound in Zechariah chapter 1 verse 17. He said, through your prosperity, my prosperity, shall the gospel be spread abroad. So now, what is supposed to be used to spread the gospel abroad? If me as a leader of a church now start using disappropriate, I use the word consciously, disappropriate amount of it to take care of me or flaunt me, then me become the message or the object instead of Christ. So, any well discipled Christian who becomes a Christian leader understand this. And this is part of why number one was important. Because if you are not a complete, well groomed disciple and you climb into a position where you are now spending resources in a way that can make people say, well, these people, they don't understand what this is supposed to be meant for. Okay. And so now you lavishing it on yourself, then you do things that are disappropriate. Use the word disappropriate because Bible says in First Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 14. He said it is ordained, it is designed that way, that anyone that preach the gospel should live by the gospel. There is no argument. If you argue that one, then you don't understand Bible. In the Old Testament, they talk about giving the priest, they give them a fork to go and dip into that, and then take their portion. So everyone have a portion, but it is when you are taking both your portion and the portion that's supposed to be driven for evangelism, for discipleship, and then you turn it to a personal stuff. That's when you have a big challenge, and that's where I think that people now start criticizing, and people start wondering, is this what it's supposed to be about? And so modesty is still the way. So if you ask me, what should we do as leaders? I will ask that we as leaders, we need to develop some systems that help us do more financial, transparency. Some churches, sometimes they publish the church I pastor. Every offering that comes to church, as church is closing by evening, there are about 16 people that know about it, that know about how much that came in. All right, so they don't even need to, as they are spending. When we started, when we were small, younger as a church, I used to do every month. At the end of every month, I said, this is how much came in, this is how much that we spent. But as we began to grow, I began to reduce the frequency and reduce how many people. Because when I began to move from thousand to million, some people think that the million is at the back of your boot. And so we began to move away from there. And then, but there's a select few that sees that on a regular basis. So you need to find a way to encourage transparency. Uh, every year I try to do a budget yearly. This is what we are expected, and then I say this is what we got, this is what we spent, and we try to have an audited, accounts, and do some level of congregational reporting. Sometimes rotate people that are in charge of something, resources, and then the board or that, and then just do your best to stick with the financial policies established. Some people don't even have financial policies established by your organization. If you don't have, seek people, that can help you create one. I'm trying to do my best not to use me to teach so that I might not, I don't need to be the standard. The Bible needs to be the standard. All right. So establish code of conduct that can help you not to have conflict of interest policies where you are not trying to give yourself contracts to do for the church. So basically regular accountability, and then to make sure there is something I always try to tell myself, you know, Proverbs 11, verse 3 says, the integrity of the upright shall guide them. Let integrity guide you. All right. Let integrity guide you and don't allow yourself to go outside that. A good example is Nehemiah. If you read the Bible, the book of Nehemiah, chapter 5, from verse 14 to 19, you see Nehemiah's leadership about finances was very transparent. He even rejected bribes. He rejected people that wanted, he rather became more, financially open to get people to know what he did. Daniel did the same thing. Daniel, he accepted to be transparent in what he was doing, even it has to do with governance, all right? And then in society, we see a lot of people who have consistently done things in the right. So for me, integrity is doing the right thing. Sometimes, in fact, not sometimes, integrity is doing the right thing, especially when no one is watching you. That's huge. All right. That's what I think is important. And then let people have constitution and let them obey this constitution that they have, so that it's not just one or two people sit down somewhere and then decide what they want, and then they don't have no bylaws. And don't forget, all the churches are registered with CAC. You need to also do, reporting, annual returns, and it doesn't cost a lot. You have to do that. We are up to date. I've done it for the first 11 years of our existence. You have to do these things. These are the things that people look at it and say, wow, these people know what they are doing. And when you have wise people join you and they see this what you're doing, they are going to be able to honor you more. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you so much. Very helpful. And I want to appreciate your response because you've been able to, you've not only defended the question properly, you've also attacked me with the question. By, by mentioning
My God.
Nehemiah and by mentioning Daniel, you've really, really attacked the question. So you did not only defended it well, you attacked the question properly. All right, thank you for that. So, and that will lead to another question, having mentioned the ability of a leader to, to imbibe honesty and integrity, an ability for a leader of a church to be open, to be transparent, to be accountable, not just to himself alone, to the church and every activities that is taking place in the church. So definitely that will give confidence as well to all the followers. Fantastic. However, in your introduction, you also mentioned that the church is meant to drive how the society, the direction of the society. If that is it, do you think it is godly for pastors or Christians to get involved in politics? If yes, what advice or what measure of engagement will you prescribe for pastors, leaders, and Christians who want to be a chain driver with respect to politics and governance?
All right, so I want to say a big thank you for that question. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's an amazing question. So let me take it this way. If you understood what I read, maybe I should read it again for you, and then I'll talk. Where it says in Ephesians, this is I'll keep going back to this because this is the anchor for all the questions you're going to ask me. He keeps saying that God uses all these energies. If you read from there, he said God raised Christ from the dead and set him on the throne in heaven to in charge of the running of the universe. Jesus supposed to, God's design to run the universe, everything from galaxies to government. He attacked your question directly. From galaxies to government, no name, no power exempt from his rule. Everything covered. Christ, the church. So, in fact, I was teaching at church, the Compass Assembly, In fact, this thing I'm answering now, in fact, the first question about discipleship is part of what led to moving our church from the wisdom place to the compact assembly because we wanted to be more discipleship centric. But that's a story for another day. Okay. So you realize it says from galaxy to government, nothing escapes his rule. It says Christ is in charge of this all and he wants to rule it through the church. Christ rules through the church. The church, therefore, is not periphery to the word, but the word periphery to the church. So that means if you draw a circle, the church is not by the side of the world. Rather, the church is the center, and the world draws influence from the church. When things are run properly the way God designed it, God designed that you and I, as Christians, will be the people who are in charge of all forms of things going on in the world, including fashion. A Christian fashion person that is a disciple will not sew cloth and will see three-quarter of somebody's breast outside. No, 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 no. He's not going to sew that cloth. He will not pass through the quality control of his or her fashion design. It's not going to happen. All right. It's not just going to happen. So I want you to not be myopic with this. I want you to understand the depth of the responsibility first. It's not going to happen. A Christian who is in charge of educational system is not going to be collecting money from parents and bring somebody to write exam for people. It's not going to happen. All right. So that is what I mean. Christ wants us to take charge of all of these places. If you get this, our job tonight is done. That's very key. All right. So now the same thing runs in politics, and Bible says something very important. He said, where the righteous rules, the people will rejoice. The people will rejoice. Where the wicked are in charge, the people will mourn. Where are you going to get good people? A wise man said that when you have a society of thieves, do you think that they will gather and when they are going to do election, they will now bring someone who is a policeman to be their governor? No, you not now. They will elect a thief among themselves. So our first job is to turn these thieves to become correct people. And that's what the church is supposed to do. And that's where discipleship is. Can you imagine the depth of influence Daniel did in governance? Daniel led and became relevant for a lot of government. It's not the problem of joining politics or playing role. It's when you go there, what vibes are you giving out there? Are you going to maintain your integrity and behave like David? David said, I am leading these people with the integrity of my heart and the skillfulness. No, with the integrity of my heart and the skillfulness of my hands. That's what Daniel, was displaying. Daniel became so relevant, that he was sent to that place. He changed. Okay, look at Joseph, the same thing. Look at Esther. These are people who have swallowed the culture of heaven, who entered into an environment and changed it. Even they said nobody should pray, Daniel said, oh, no problem. Prayer is me and prayer. And Daniel opened his, if he was closing it before, he said, now let me open it wider. That's what the Bible means when it says that you have to make sure that you go public with God. Go public. But when we say go public, I don't mean you should go and carry a church sticker and put on your car or your door of your office. A car can be born again, but the driver is not born again. People put sticker at the back and born again and for Jesus, but they are not doing something that looks like Jesus. You see someone that okay, let me not look for trouble too early. Now the point I'm trying to make is that Daniel lived what he's saying in the church where I pastor. We used to say something that speaking in tongues is a sign that the Holy Ghost came. But the fruit of the Spirit is a sign that he stayed. I'll say it again. Speaking in tongues is a sign that the Holy Ghost came. But the fruit of the Spirit is a sign that he stayed. So we need people in governance, but we need to train them. We need them to know the same way we have people who are called to be ushers, in quote, who are called to be prayer warriors. The way we are called people who sing in choir. Governance is also a calling. Governance is a calling. It's part of the graces. It's part of the graces. In fact, you read the TPT version of Ephesians chapter 4, he said grace, supernatural grace God gave to people to perform function. Then he now said, to some he gave the grace to be apostle. Others he gave the grace to be pastor. Others he gave to, so if you go to Romans chapter 12, He talks about those he gave the grace to be government, to play government role. Some he gave role to be leaders in governance. So it's also a grace. Is that some people need to develop it so that when they go there, that the fastest way to impart this culture is to raise the people who have the culture of heaven to go to a place. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to do what the other people, what did the king say? The king said, from now on, only the king, the king that the gods rather that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego worships. That's what we're going to worship. What crusade is bigger than that? What evangelism is bigger than that? That's super evangelism by your life because you are the written epistle that people read and they can follow. So that's my answer to that. We need to participate fully, but we need to participate that when they throw us out there, we go and represent the kingdom and not reduce the influence of the kingdom.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. We spent an hour already, but I think the takeaway from this, your response is we need people in governance, but we need to get them trained. We need people in governance, but they need to get trained. And I think that training should begin from the church, right? That training should begin from the church. Thank you so much, Pastor. Because of our time, myriads of questions that I have for you, and I've not been able to take other questions from our viewers and participants. So definitely I have just one question more so that we don't drag the session too long into 10 p.m. So just one question more based on some of the things you've mentioned from your introduction and some of the things you've also mentioned in the course of attending to those questions. You also made a quote, which I have here. You say, control the media, then you control the world. So you gave that quote. And I want you to expatiate on it because today we are living in the world of technology. And there are so many emerging technologies within our reach that can be used for evangelism. The AI
Okay.
is there, the live streaming is there, and all of that. How much of these technologies have you used? That's number one. How well has this technology transformed your ministry? How do we strike a balance in the usage of these technologies?
All right. So thank you so much. I think that technology, just like many other things, just like power, they all have double-edged sword. The same power in terms of electrical power, you can use to iron your clothes. You can also use it to electrocute someone to death. That's what media is also doing. So, but first of all, understand that media, is powerful. It's powerful. All right. The narratives, people edit something. There's a guy now that's editing crazily. I don't want to mention that because that's not forgot. People can edit all kinds of editing, and they sell a narrative. Now people are now understanding that some narrative that they were told many years ago, they are all lies. It's media that told that narrative. And so, what does the church need to do? They need to understand the impact of media in doing their best. I mean, just imagine, let's not even go far. Look at what we are doing. I'm in the city of Port Harcourt. Some people are in Abuja. Some people are outside the country. We are all gathered here through this platform. All right. And again, is I want to encourage people to know it's also cost effective. All right. People are now holding 9 video. There's one of our brother that does challenge. He gathers thousands of people, if not millions of people worldwide. There may not be one room to gather all of those people and how much it will cost him to gather all those people. But you see, people gather all around the world. Once it's time for that challenge, everybody puts their head there. All right. So it's very important. Some people are leading prayers every day that thousands are joining around the world. So it's important you do that. I've also used that. I use it to run meetings. I mean, now, okay, our prayer for tomorrow's service just started like 5 minutes ago, 9 p.m. We're going to pray for the next 1 hour. I will join them. They already started the prayer from 9 to about 10. We're praying. All right. So now imagine I ask people to gather from their homes to come to church to pray and then start going home. They'll reach you home 10:30, 11, and some of them might be harmed. on the way. But we can pray conferences 9 to 10 online. I run trainings for our leaders online. Yesterday, I ran training for our ministers, in the evening. I'll do tomorrow. We do live streaming for our church programs. I've run programs for men. Tomorrow, for instance, by 8 p.m., I'll be on Instagram. I'm talking to men. I don't need to leave my home. So media is so powerful that I want to encourage any leader that is here, any pastor that is here, who have not engaged in it, please engage in it massively. Engage in it massively. And I want to encourage everyone that is here with us, kindly share this platform, share it to other people. Let them join us and join the subsequent sections. I've just added my own part. We, the young people, we are coming first. The bigger bishops are coming after. They will answer bigger questions. All right. So they answer bigger questions. Please don't miss it. Don't miss any of the sections. Our rector and the team have, organized this to help us change the way we look at things so that we can be blessed by them. So I want to stop here and say thank you so much for having me, and then keep up the good work. We look forward to next week, Saturday. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Osiri. Before you go, please, it's been a good time together tonight.